So good afternoon. Today is the 31st of October and this is yet another time when the very vague vlogs don't quite live up to their name, because we're talking about something very specific. It's something the person sitting next to me actually used to deal in a little bit. My lady wife used to work for an insurance broker in Manchester many years ago, and so I've just been discussing with her the fact that classic car insurance is a little bit more than you'd think it is. If you are on the Road 45 V6 and set Toledo channel membership tiers, then you'll see this video very soon after it's recorded. If you are just waiting for the general release of the video, that it comes out about 3 weeks later. So last week I was looking through some insurance quotes for the car that I've just bought, and if you're watching these in series, then you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. But what I found was that it's not really a cut and dried thing about what is a classic car and what isn't, according to the insurance companies anyway. One of the cars I was looking at before I decided on the one that eventually I bought at the auction was a car from 1993. And what I do know is that if you put your value of your car at like £500 or something like that, even on a classic policy, they often try to insure the car for more than actually you were valued it at, which is very strange. If you valued it at something like £1,500 or £2,000, it tends to be pay less of a premium, which is really strange. I've had that happen before. But also, it doesn't even matter if your car is 29 years old or something like that. A lot of the classic policy just won't cover you at all. What actually a classic car is massively open for debate, and I don't really want to get into that at all. I don't think it's really a question that has a particular answer that's definitive at all. So that's not really my objective in this video. It's more to just to tell you that actually sometimes a standard insurance policy is better, even if you are doing quite limited mileage, than a classic one. A case in point was I went to my previous insurance company for classics that I used in 2020 when I owned my old 1991 Rover 216, and I asked them actually on the car from 1993 that I was thinking of buying, but didn't eventually, what it would be to cover it. I didn't think it was going to be very much. I said, sorry, we don't insure that car. The Primera that you would have seen, that I went to have a look at earlier this month or next month if you're watching the general release, that they wouldn't cover either, and they wouldn't cover the car that I bought at the auction. They wouldn't cover any of them. Whereas with the Rover, which was the same age as that car from '93 was, it was exactly the same age, they wouldn't cover it. They covered the Rover, but not this one. I contacted another insurance company that's a well-known one. I'm not going to give you any names of any of them because I don't think it's very relevant really for me to tell you, and they did agree to cover the Volvo that I bought at the auction, but they wanted to charge me £200 more for pretty much the same policy. I think it was like social domestic pleasure or commuting or something like that. They wanted to charge me £200 more than a standard policy with just the normal insurance company, in this case Admiral. Not that I'm particularly biased, but our other cars are with Incredibly Happy, which is part of the Viva, before it goes to the Norwich Union. So it's very interesting because next year Incredibly Happy will not cover the Rover when we renew the insurance, because they don't cover cars that are over 20 years old in that particular year that you buy the insurance. So I will have to change that as well. But I just couldn't believe that this specialist classic insurer that covers lots of events, you would have heard of that, I'm not going to say the name, they wanted to charge me £200 more, and the policy of Admiral also has business cover on it too. So it covers me if I, for example, want to source a car for a client using that Volvo. But I don't tend to do too much of it, particularly because the car's not Occupational Emission Zone compliant. It's on a 3,000 mile a year limited policy, because it's not really been designed for me to buy, to use like all the time. You know, little journeys like to my mother's house where you know, we visit her several times a week because she's got, you know, some memory problems and some physical health problems, things like that. So we visit her very frequently. So the journey I do most often is about 7 miles or so from Eastleigh to Winchester up the M3. That's the journey I normally do, and that's would be fine for doing that. And most of us are in the Rover. Today we're in the Sanyong. Doesn't really matter. Sometimes even off Mercedes. But you know, I do sorts of guide for clients. I'll go filming. Such as we go and see my father-in-law. He lives up in Chester. You would have seen his car on the channel a long time ago, actually, because he's still got it. He's had it for 11 years now. So yeah, sort of we go there, sort of we go other places. But you know, going to shows, things like that, and filming cars up and down the country is mainly what I need the cars for. And if I'm going to film a show, or if I'm exhibiting at a show, then it's very useful to have this sort of business cover on the car, because it means that I can, you know, potentially someone needs a job doing, I can use the car and take it to the show if I'm exhibiting it. Just as a Volvo, that's definitely worthy of Festively Unexceptional, because it's 25 years old in 2023, and so it's perfectly within the sort of realms of the Festively Unexceptional. So that's my intention to take it up there. And of course, if I do anything else when I'm there off and driving straight to the show, which I probably won't be doing. I'll probably be doing the same thing as I did this year, and Mr. Coleman will come with me, because it's a lot cheaper for two of you to take the same car than it is for us to take multiple cars. Actually, it saves a lot of fuel if you do that, particularly when you've got cars like the Jeep does maybe 20 miles per gallon on a good day, and the Volvo probably does about 30 on a good day. So a lot most fuel efficient cars. So that's the sort of thing that, you know, that generally the cars getting used for. And you know, a lot of classic car policies do have show cover, and that's really good. I've heard of, you know, people who have, like, you know, a daily car, and other classics can get special policies for that, and then each individual car, like maybe it's like 9-10 cars, doesn't cost very much to add. But we're not in that situation, and now we've got the three. My mother's Mercedes is on a completely different policy, that's her car, not mine. But now we've got the three. I don't really ever intend to add more at the moment. I really think it's really kind of, in some ways, I really don't need the third car at all. I don't. It's just a bit of fun, really. But we've got it now, and I was just really surprised that the insurers just don't seem to want to cover it. They don't seem to want to. I mean, it's 24 years old. They're not particularly valuable cars, but you don't see them around everywhere. The survival rate is actually surprisingly high, because they're quite well protected against corrosion. They're not immune to it, but they're quite well protected for a car of their era. They do cost a lot to run, but there seems to be quite a few of them still around. It's amazing, really. But apparently that's not a classic. So it won't cover it. I imagine there's other things as well. I mean, like, I know Mr. Coleman's Alfa Romeo, that's a 2004, and that is easy for him to get on a classic policy. So it's a 6-year newer car, but the classic insurance will cover it. I don't know why this is, but I mean, when I say cover it, I mean cover it with, like, a, you know, a reasonable fee rather than £200 more than a standard policy, which just doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. You're not giving me any incentive to buy your specialist insurance, despite the fact that really it kind of should be on that. So that's what we'll continue to do. I remember having a similar situation many years ago when I bought my first classic car, which was a Truck Dolomite in 2005, and I found out that, I mean, I was 22, I think, at the time, so insurance was a really big thing. It's far more so even these days, like way more than it was. It's still expensive on most cars. I think my first insurance bill in 2002 was £2,200, van. The same car would be more. But I eventually went with a normal insurance policy. Again, I think of Adam. Not because I was, not because I was, looking for a normal policy on it, but because that's the only policy that would cover me. I think at the time they were saying you don't have a garage, so we're not gonna cover you. Just bear in mind when I rang some of the insurers about a Volvo, they didn't even get as far as asking me what my age was, what my occupation was, or where I would be, where I'd be storing the car. It was literally just, we don't cover that car. We don't cover Primeras. We don't cover C70s. We just don't cover them for anyone. And a lot of it is to do with the underwriting policy is, and obviously is a risk and all this sort of thing, and that can just go all over the place. So I think my only real thing I'm saying is that maybe a standard insurance policy will be better for you in your individual circumstance than a classic one, even if the use you have for your car would on paper really benefit from it being a classic policy. Anyway, that's I think quite enough about that. Thank you ever so much indeed once again for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like this video, leave a comment below. As I've said, if you are a channel member on the top 2 tiers, then you see these videos a lot earlier. Whether you think that's a good idea or not is very much up to you. But thank you ever so much indeed once again. Lloyd Young Consulting stickers, t-shirts and mugs are available by clicking the link to the Google form in the video description below.